What's up, everybody? Thanks for tuning into this episode of English Turks, where I review your favorite Turkish series with and without English subtitles. And today we're talking about Adim Farah, episode 16, which is episode 2 in season 2. So I just finished watching the episode, and I am here to share all the deets with you guys. So if you haven't done so yet, click that subscribe button, click that like button, and if you know anyone else who loves watching Turkish Tizzies, definitely click that share button and share it with them. All right, let's get right into it. We are talking about episode 16 of Adim Farah, which was interesting, but this episode was definitely to give us more insight as to what took place in that gap that we missed that I talked about in my last review, and also like what's going on with each of the characters, and that's literally what we're doing right now. So in this episode we start off with seeing Farah in her prison-like state. I mean, she's living in Benham's house, and basically she's a prisoner. She has to do everything the way they want her to do it, and she gets to see Kerim Shah at least for a few minutes a day. I mean, she's watching them have breakfast, and then he allows her to come and see Kerim Shah, but I guess there's a pretense that she's working a lot, and so that's why she can't be with Kerim Shah that much, but he does get to see her. Now, here's the thing. In season 1, she was with Kerim Shah, but she spent a lot of time away from him as well. So, I mean, now it's just even more. It's like she doesn't have the freedom to choose to be with him or not. She has to do everything based on what Benham is allowing for her to have to spend with him. And he's obviously using Kerim Shah over her, but he's also using something else, which we learn a little bit later in the episode what that actually is. Then we're taken over to see that the ladies are all in the same house, which is really weird, but they're obviously having money issues. Gonul is living with her mother-in-law and with Bade. They're all living in a different house. I guess it's not their main house, but apparently they're short on their rent. They haven't paid rent in 6 months. But here's the thing. I'm gonna be honest. Are you telling me that y'all had all this money for so long and you guys didn't buy anything? Anything that you could call your own? Like, she should just be worried about taxes. That's it. But obviously, things are just a mess in that household. Um, Bade goes, checks up on Mehmet, and he's awake. He's awake, and because he's awake, um, Tahir is let out of prison, and so now he's a free man, but he doesn't feel like a free man because, well, he doesn't have Farah. And we see that, you know, Benham is afraid because now he knows that Tahir is let out. He's trying to figure out what he can do because he knows he doesn't have Farah. Really, he's just keeping her prisoner. So the lawyer suggests to him that because of their long-term distance, like it's been such a long time they've been distant from each other, that she can file a protective order stating that she's afraid what Tahir will do to Kerim Shah and all that stuff. You see the servant who's, I guess, supposed to be supervising her. She spills liquid over the document, and at first I thought like, oh, maybe she has Farah's back, but it turns out she doesn't. She's just looking out for Benham's mom, and Farah then gets to see Kerim Shah just a little bit more again. Now we all know that Benham's mom does not like Farah and doesn't want her son to have anything to do with Farah. She will gladly take Kerim Shah, but she doesn't want Farah in the picture. Well, Bade brings Tahir to see Mehmet, and Mehmet, gets from Tahir the update on everything. I feel like Mehmet knows that it was his father that, shot him, which is exactly what I believe, but he refuses to remember it. He, catches up with Tahir, but of course, Tahir, his main goal and focus is to figure out what's going on with Farah. We see that he gets to interact with, I cannot remember her name, but anyway, the Aga's wife. And she obviously is blaming him for everything because she knows, well, she's going based off everything the Aga told her. And now we learn that no one knows that the Aga is dead, I guess, except for Gonu, Bade, Farah, and Benam. So she's assuming that he's dead. And Tahir also believes that the Aga is dead because he knows the Aga will not go and hide secretly anywhere. So she's blaming Tahir, and Tahir's like, listen, if I would have done it, I would have been out there with it. I would have gave him a proper burial. You would have known. I wouldn't have hidden it from you. But obviously, she still feels like it's not up to her to let him know what happened in the past. So that's still in secret. He doesn't know that Mehmet is his brother. And to top it off, I find it kind of awkward and weird. Maybe she doesn't want Mehmet in her house, but because of Bade and Gonil, she has to have Mehmet in her house. Because if you're mad at Tahir for ratting out the Aga, you should also be mad at Mehmet because you know it was Mehmet who authorized that in the first place. So anyway, Bade has his men go pick up Tahir, bring Tahir to a factory to try to dissuade Tahir from, pursuing Farah. But this just encourages Tahir even more because he's like, if you are so secure in the fact that Farah wants to be with you, why are you so worried about me? So he gives Tahir this document that states like, oh, I'm afraid that Tahir is going to do something to me. And immediately, Tahir knows it's not true. He knows that Farah trusts him with Kerim Shah. He reverts back to memories in the past, knowing for sure, like he knows in his heart, that Farah would never sign such a document. In the meantime, we have Bade's brother who decides to come and hang out. I guess he's just walked away from everything. He was never the strong one. And we all know that he has a thing for Gonu. And then we learn a little bit about Gonu and her relationship with Khan. Khan has supposedly gone to America to pursue work, but obviously he's not communicating with his wife. Gonu is still trying to hide that fact, but everybody kind of knows the truth. In the meantime, Benham's mom decides that she needs to take matters into her own hands because the ambassador or whoever he is, he's coming back with his daughter, and I guess she wants Benham to be with the daughter. I don't know. So she realizes she has to get rid of Farah. So she takes Farah out of the house, which Farah knows she's not supposed to go out of the house. The security guard knows, but she's trying to use her authority as Benham's mother to take Farah out of the house, take her to the shopping mall, and try to convince Farah to go away, give her money, and tell her to leave. But obviously, Farah is not leaving Kerim Shah, so she says no. They're about to go home, but that is the opportunity that Tahir takes to kidnap Farah. And this, in Benham's mom's mind, is the perfect scenario. So she tries to play it off like Farah left on her own will instead of being dragged away. And we are taken to another scene where we see that it turns out that Benham is partnering with Mrs. Akanji. I'm going to call her Mrs. Akanji because I can't remember her name. So she's using him for money, and obviously she is not smart because She's spending the money on frivolous things instead of spending it on the things that she actually needs, like paying where they live. I guess in her mind, even though she feels like the Aga's dead, maybe she feels like he's going to come back. But obviously, she's digging herself into a ditch and she's not thinking wisely on how to get herself out of this mess. So anyway, Benham finds out that Farah is gone, and Tahir takes Farah to one of the Aga's houses, and basically he wants her to tell him exactly what happened from the moment that, Benham came into their home, what happened. And Farah is giving him, she's telling him the story, but she's telling him in a way like Benham was good to her and nice to her and all this stuff, which we all know is not true. Benham, in the meantime, is trying to get it out of Tahir's men, but that's not working. And basically, we learn that, you know, Benham had come back, had taken Kerim Shah back to the hospital, and also took Farah back, and basically told her that, like, I'm only keeping you just in case something happens to our son, that you will be able to take care of it. And also, we learn that he knows about what happened to the Aga, and he's holding it against her and using her as using Gonu and Bade as leverage as well. So Farah is not only staying in the house for Kerim Shah, she's also staying in the house because he has something to prove that they had something to do with the Aga's death. Obviously, they must have hidden the Aga's body and hidden like all the evidence and stuff so nobody knows, what's going on with the Aga. And Farah, even though she's telling Tahir the story of everything, she's leaving the whole part about the Aga out, and she's also not telling him what really happened. And obviously, I don't know why. Maybe she's afraid and she doesn't want him to get hurt, or she's afraid that by the time Tahir can actually do something, Benham will have up and left with Kerim Shah or something. I don't know. But she's choosing not to tell him about what actually happened. Meanwhile, Benham is hunting them down. He goes to Bade, Gonul gets hurt, um, and he still can't find him. Mehmet, who's just uncomfortable with the position that he's in, he's trying to figure out what happened to his dad, what happened to everything. And we see, his Gonul's mom is frustrated with all of his questions and stuff. But again, she's like, oh, he left to Russia, which is odd, but okay. Back at the mansion that Benham is at, which used to be the mansion that the ambassador was living in with his daughter. The daughter is very spiteful right now to Benham. She hates him, can't stand him. I guess the original plan, this is just my guesstimation, the original plan was for him and her to be together. But she fell in love with someone else. And so like, maybe he didn't really want to be with her, but the fact that she went and didn't want to be with him, because remember, he's a narcissist, that like pissed him off. And so he ended up doing something to the man that she loved. I guess he killed him or something. And so this girl is highly resentful of that and can't stand him. And she's throwing that in his face. Meanwhile, Farah is trying to get Tahir to let her free, and he isn't. I mean, he's hugging her, he's holding on because he loves her, and he could see in her eyes that she loves him too. But she's trying to do what she can to protect him by not telling him anything, but also escaping the house because she needs to get back to Benham. So she ends up hitting Tahir over the head with like a glass cup. He faints. She apologizes. She runs away, takes his car. I guess she ditches it somewhere and then runs back to the mansion. Obviously, Benham is angry about this, and he is basically like trying to figure out where is Tahir. Well, Mrs. Akanji figures out where Tahir is and lets Benham know. And the cousin, the girl, she is like, "Oh my gosh, is he gonna hurt him?" Which is interesting because she she is angry with Benham, and so now she wants to step in the plan, I guess. Um, she's afraid that Benham's gonna do something to Tahir, so she decides that she needs to do something, and we'll figure out what that is a little bit later on. As we keep going, Farah does not tell um, Benham where Tahir is, but because he already knows, he's able to go over to the house where Tahir actually is. Now, when he gets to the house, a lot happens, but before that, um, Gonul and her mom come back from the hospital, and we see Ilyas. Now, we all know Ilyas. He's working for the lambs, and so even though they invite him to go inside to see Mehmet, he refuses to do that because obviously the position that he's in. But he also realizes that Gonul's mom has two phones, and one of those phones was ringing. We learn a little later on that she's still in communication with Orhan, which is Gonul's dad and Mehmet's dad. She's in communications with him. And basically, she knows something. I don't know if she knows everything, but she knows something had to have happened between Orhan and Mehmet. And so he's trying to, I guess, see how much Mehmet remembers, and I think he's not actually in Russia. He's still in Istanbul, but he's in hiding. And Gonul's mom is, working on the inside, I guess, to see how much they know and relaying that information to Orhan. I'm sure that plot will develop a little bit more as we go along. But in the meantime, Benham has now gone to this house. Tahir wakes up just in time to face them. And basically, he's calling Benham a coward. He's like, dude, like, if you were going to do something, you would have done it already. But Benham, like, keeps playing these games like, oh, we're going to take you here, take you there. At least, like, just kill me. You're like, be a man. Like, you're not a true gangster, I guess. Like, he hides behind this facade of his wealth and making this mean facade. But, like, honestly, he can only victimize women. And what they're portraying is that in Iran, like, the women can be beat up by their men. The men can do all kinds of stuff to the women. But in Istanbul, that can't happen. Like, it's illegal. So we see that when he's talking to his cousin. We kind of know that from what Farah has told us about, how he treated her in the past. And basically, as we could see, he hasn't really put hands on Farah since he's found her again. He's had the women do stuff to Farah, but he hasn't himself laid hands on Farah. So we can see, he's one of these he's not a real man, or he's a man but a cowardly man. And so Tahir ends up getting away from them and running, and Benham follows him with one of his goons, and his goon is like, listen, stay out here, I'll go take care of it. And he's like, no one's gonna call me a coward. So he actually gets up there with the gun, but runs out of bullets. And Tahir is smart enough to know how many bullets he had. And they start fighting. But Tahir overcomes Benham, and Benham is actually hanging off the side of this construction building. And Tahir had the option to let him fall to his death, but he chooses to save Benham. And he tells Benham, you know what? Because he asked Benham while he was hanging off the side of the building, like, do you love Farah? He's like, I'll die for her. And he's like, does Farah love you? He's like, we are connected, or some crap like that. And so he saves Benham, and he's like, listen, from this moment on, you and I have no quarrels. I'm not gonna run after Farah. I accept it. He's basically telling Benham he accepts it as truth, you know. But Benham is such an idiot. He's such an idiot. Instead of letting it go, he decides to so-called secure his position by instead pushing Tahir off the building. That's how you know he's not a real man. He's just ridiculously a coward. He decides to push Tahir off the building. Tahir falls into a dirt pile, but it's kind of like a far fall. So obviously, if it was the other way around, Benham would probably have died. But because it's Tahir, he's our main hero in this story. He falls on this dirt pile, and a car pulls up, and we see a woman with heels walking towards Tahir. Obviously, we know that this is going to be the cousin, and she's probably going to nurse him back to health. And here are a few of my predictions. She's going to nurse Tahir back to health. She's going to fall in love with Tahir. She's going to want to be with Tahir. Tahir is going to accept her help, but at the same time, deep down inside his heart, he still loves Farah. He might go ahead and divorce Farah. I mean, who knows? I'm thinking he might. And Farah is probably going to learn about this. It's going to kill her on the inside. Um, but I'm thinking that's where the storyline is going to go. You know, this girl is going to try maybe to get Tahir to be with her, marry her, and, you know, Tahir is going to have to figure out what he wants to do because more likely than not, he's going to still want to be with Farah. Farah, on the other hand, she's going to have to deal with whatever consequences Benan puts on her, meanwhile, still wanting to be with her son. But she obviously felt it in her heart. Something happened to Tahir. And we'll see how that plays out in the next episode. That's my review, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to click that share button, that like button, and comment down below. What are your thoughts on this episode? Obviously, the reviews are getting up there, I think. I think some of it went up and some of it went down. But you guys let me know, and I will talk to you guys in the next review.